Welcome to another episode of the Average African Kid podcast. It's your host, Toya Resinara, and today we are talking about the orientation after graduation. Now, there is a lot to be said about graduating. There's a lot to be said after finishing educational at a higher institution of learning. If you're in SS3, then you're going to be going to university, but more likely you are finishing your undergraduate degree or your master's degree program, and more likely your undergraduate degree if you're listening to this episode. Or you just love the show and you're going to share this with somebody who's going to be passing through that stage. This episode is kind of like a debriefing. Do you guys know what debriefing is? Well, let me break it down to you. When psychologists or experimenters perform experiments, let's say they put someone in a room with bystanders and all the bystanders say that a wrong answer is right, and the test subject is getting really confused, like what's happening here? Everybody said that sign is green and I see it as blue. Are we crazy here? And then the bystander eventually decides to go with the crowd, like, oh yeah, it's green. Of course it's green, just to avoid social embarrassment. Well, debriefing is when the experiment is over, you sit down with the test subject and tell them what exactly happened. Hey, you were in this social experiment, and what we actually did was try and figure out this particular situation. You were here because of this reason, and you fell into this bystander effect. Basically, so that they don't leave the test center with trauma. And the key word I use there is trauma, because I believe that many university students are leaving university with trauma, and I believe many National Youth Service Corps members are leaving NYSC with trauma, because nobody has debriefed them and told them what will happen after they get out of these institutions. Now, from the information I've gathered and from the people I've talked to, what many people say is that many people tell them that you don't want to miss your destiny, that you want to pray that God gives you where He wants you to go, and then your destiny is settled in His hand. And if you miss your destiny, you are finished. That's what they tell you. And many people tell you that you get out of school, you have a top first class, and you get a job, and then you move to the next level of society, and then you go on, and then you do this, and then you do that. That's what they tell you. Now, what really happens most times is that you finish school, you finish your education, you have worked your ass off, you have sweat all you wanted, and you have done everything you can to get the best result possible. Or you might have been a really cool kid and just lazy through school and got the minimum requirement to get a graduation certification. Either way, you are done now, and the world does not look the way you think it will look. Or you're about to be done. The world will not bend to you the way you think it will bend to you. And here is what I'm beginning to see. Most graduates do not get work in the fields in which they studied. I'm going to repeat that again because it's obvious, but something that is needed to be noted in case you don't know this. Most graduates do not get employment in the fields in which they studied. And it's quite interesting because when we think about graduation and university, we think that college or HND or the ND program is meant to prepare you for jobs. Well, I think it was meant to, but in recent times, the purpose has changed without the marketing or the label change. So people are wrongly advised exactly why they go to school. Well, let me tell you why you go to school as of now. I have an episode that is School a Scam. You can go listen to that previous episode. I may link it in this one here. But the reason this happens, the reason you go to school is to learn how to learn. To learn how to cope with pressure, to learn how to work with people or not, to learn how to meet deadlines, to learn how to obey instructions, to learn how to think. If you're in a really good school or in a really good program or you had a really good teacher, God help you, you will learn how to critically think. And critical thinking, I think, is the most important part of school that we overlook many times because many people try and get a degree rather than an education. There's a difference between getting a degree and getting an education. Those who get an education can go anywhere in the world and conquer. Those who get a degree find themselves frustrated because the only thing they have a degree in doesn't work, and they don't have the skills to back up that degree, if that makes any sense. That's why when people cheat in examinations, it's like, okay, you guys are doing wrong to yourself, because in the end of the day, you might not have the skills to survive when you're done. Or those who will never cheat and those who think it's all about the bookwork, they might not have the skills needed to survive in the real world. That's why critical thinking is necessary. You go to school, you get an education, but you learn how to think and how to survive in the real world. You get internships if you can. You work in the real world. You talk with professionals in their field. You just network yourself. You learn about trades. You learn about handwork, how to design wristbands, how to design shoes, how to make bags, how to sew, how to make beads, how to work in the market with Gary. You learn something different and then you incorporate it together. So I'm going to tell you this because I know that you really need to hear this. Don't expect to get out of school and get a job right away. If you do, praise God, the Lord has answered your prayer. What I want you to expect to do is to try and summarize your college experience, your school experience. What have I learned here? And what will make me go to the next stage? Maybe you are trying to get a green card and you need to go through more school, and more power to you. But what have I learned? What has been my strength here? And then use those strengths to try and creatively think of how to produce jobs for yourselves. Now, things might change and jobs might become readily available. Well done. But I don't want you to limit yourself to thinking that your whole life has prepared you for a particular job. There's a lot more. I'm big on entrepreneurship, and I'm going to be teaching on entrepreneurship in the few years to come, little by little. But I believe everyone has a gift from God and has a mission and a vision. I don't know how big it is. Some it's just to help others. And no, not just, sorry. Some it is to help others, not just, because that's a big calling. Some it is to start their own projects to help others. Some it is to build legacies for others to help others. It's wide. But don't assume that your life is accumulated by the job you get after you finish from school. Also, we tend to want things fast. I'm a key example for this. My podcast, you're listening to it now, it took about a year to reach 100 subscribers on YouTube, and it took about 2 years to where we are now. We're about 5,000 downloads. And many times I look at that and I'm like, wow, that's small. Wait, let's clap. 5,000 downloads. Oh Lord, thank you. In my mind, that is small. I'm like, oh, some people have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 downloads in 1 week. Or some people have 1 million subscribers, 1,000 subscribers in a day. And I'm like, but I'm not yet there. Why am I not yet there? God, I want to be there. But we need to realize that when we build, the younger we are, there's time to build. And that's where midlife crisis comes in, because people are getting old and they realize that they have built nothing. But when you start building as a young person, whatever you build, you realize that you should not be building for tomorrow. You should be building for the future, for a long-term plan. Yes, you want to eat food, you want to survive, but you also want to create a legacy of something that will last after you. For us here in the average African kid community, it's basically to create a legacy of people who are away from home right now, but who are connected to home in Nigeria, who have a home base, who understand what's happening in the culture, understand what's happening with the people, and who in some way or another, in some time or another, will be able to come back to Nigeria, make a difference, and from extensions, they will be able to go to different parts of Africa, Ghana, Algeria, Trinidad and Tobago, Tanzania, wherever you guys are. I know you guys are here listening to this show. Egypt, all my people, Congo, DRC, everybody. I feel you. Rwanda, thank you guys for listening to the show. Angola, every one of you all. And the goal is to take this general trends, share it with you guys, and hopefully you guys in turn make an impact in your communities from the trends that we spot here on the show. So we build slowly. Start thinking about how you can build. Read books, pray, study the Bible. I'm a big Christian. I believe in Jesus and what he did for me on the cross. And I believe that I'm here to worship and praise him. If you don't believe in that, well, another discussion for another day. I would love to have a conversation with you at some point. But I know that the Lord has a plan for me. And I know he has a plan for you. And don't be scared of missing that plan. Just ask him, Lord, I need to understand what you want me to do in life and help me. And then relax. It's not a stress. It's not a tension. You are not too big to mess up God's plans in your life. That's what I tell. That's what I've learned recent since graduating. I am not too big to mess up God's plans for my life because I thought I was big enough. I thought I was a big shot and I was able to mess up what God had in store for me. I thought that if I made one wrong decision, if I said yes to a job offer that was not right at that moment, I was done. God could never use me again. But that's not true. Those who are led by the Spirit of God are the sons of God. You might make mistakes, but the Lord will direct you where He wants you to go. But listen to His voice. Yeah, so I've given you a summary. It's okay. You'll feel a bit depressed after finishing school because you realize that all the things you did in school were not with complete right intent because you didn't get the results that you expected to get immediately after you finished. It's okay. I was there. I was depressed after school myself for a few months because I couldn't get a job. I couldn't even work because I didn't have the right paper permits in San Antonio. And I was just at home and I read a lot of books. I sat on my couch a lot. I did a lot of introspective thinking. I had to fight against boredom. All my friends disappeared because then you realize who your true friends are, right? When you really need them, when you're alone and you're trying to get people to come and have fellowship with you and just basically hang out with you and no one comes. And then you realize that, wow, in this life, we're really going to end up by ourselves. We're going to end up giving an account for what we have done and only what we have done. And all these things got to me, but I held on to faith and family was around me. I talked to my parents, I talked to my brother, I talked to some family friends, some mentors who encouraged me in the spirit, and some very good friends who were there in person. And yeah, we got through it. We're here today. We're working on entrepreneurship. We're building a podcast. We're building a community. What can I say? But we're growing. And I want to encourage you. You too will grow. So, this might be an introduction to the end of your orientation into the exit from university. Congratulations on finishing. Congratulations on being close to finishing. I know it's not easy, but you've made it this far. Trust the Lord and start thinking outside the box. Forget about your degree. Your degree doesn't make any difference. The man selling ice cream at your school gate probably has a bachelor's degree, just like you. Might even finish with a better degree result than you. Don't think your result entitles you to something in life. No, you got to make that happen yourself. With the Lord's help, you got to make that happen. Okay, thank you. If you like this episode, please share this with somebody who you know is finishing school, who's struggling with school, who's about to go into school. They don't teach this thing in schools. They don't teach this thing after you finish schools. And yeah, I know a lot of you need this and you need to share more about this. Let's have a conversation about this. Follow us on The Average African Kid. That's our Instagram handle, The Average African Kid. It's going to be linked below. And let's start a conversation on that. Okay, have a wonderful day. Take care. Wow, thank you for staying tuned. You stay till the end. That is amazing and that is wonderful. So, yeah, thanks for staying with us here. Please share this episode with someone you know who is just finishing from school or someone who you know is in this rut or was about to get into this rut, basically. This could be a graduation present for somebody. Let them listen to this episode and gain some insights and yeah. So please subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can go follow us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Podbeam, iTunes, anywhere you get your podcast. 5-star reviews, leave a comment, and join us on Instagram. Once you've done all these things, yeah, just please keep on supporting this show, whether by listening or sending me a voice message. I have a link there to a message. Just encourage at any way you can. We appreciate everything here. Okay, have a wonderful day. Stay blessed, stay safe, stay amazing. Bye-bye.